We have in studio with us a gentleman who I guess, unwillingly came to the public spotlight last week, as a week ago tonight he stood up in front of the Knox County Commission and did something that you don't hear a lot of people do nowadays, and that's speak openly, honestly, and from the heart. And just told his story. We have from Amherst Elementary School, special education teacher, Robert Taylor. Robert, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, of course, we appreciate you. We appreciate you honoring us with your presence here at the show. Move that around so you get right there in front of it. Now, did you expect all this? Did you expect I guess you kind of become you in a week's time you kind of become almost a local celebrity, just standing up and talking. Now, you weren't planning on speaking at the commission meeting, right?
No, I wasn't planning on speaking, and I definitely didn't expect that anyone else other than the people that were in that room would see it.
Sure.
No, I just had shown up there to listen to what my fellow teachers were going to say and to be there to support them.
Yeah. And we played your video last week, and you've already gotten well over 1,100 views just in a week's time of you standing up and telling your story. And I have to tell you, I reposted it on my Facebook, and we reposted it on the show's Facebook, for the simple fact that for the past few months, we've talked about this issue, and we've looked at it from both sides and tried to be very very open and honest with everything on either side, and just trying to get people to talk and move forward in this. But one thing that we've talked about is the fact that we need to stand by and support good teachers out there, because unfortunately what you hear in the media, and really the only time you hear anything about teachers in the media anymore, is it seems like you hear about teachers doing bad things. And that's what they focus on. And unfortunately, there's so many more teachers out there that are just really good teachers that they get ignored and they kind of get forgotten.
Right.
And everybody focuses on, oh, well, this guy did this, and this woman did this, and these people did that. And it's easy to forget about the fact that you have the majority of teachers out there that just do this because they love doing it, and this is what they do. And we played your segment, and we talked about the fact that you gave up a lot to do your job. Why?
Being a teacher is not something that you just do. It's really something that you are.
Yeah.
You can't change. For most educators, I think that you can't change the fact that you're a teacher any more than you can change your DNA.
Sure.
It's just part of who we are. It's built into us. I couldn't think of anything else I would rather be doing.
Yeah.
The sacrifices that you have to make sacrifices in any job, I'm sure. That just is part of what comes with the territory.
Sure.
And, those are sacrifices that I've made willingly for the good of my students.
Your story reminded me, and actually I related this last week, your story reminded me of an interview I heard one time with my favorite actor of all time, Jack Lemmon. Somebody asked him, I think it was Dick Cavett, asked him, well, what would you have done if you hadn't been an actor? He said, I don't know. I can't answer that because that's what I am. That's what I do. It's like living. It's like breathing and getting up every day. That's just what I do. Mm-hmm. And I hear your story, and I understand you're a teacher. That's what you do. That's what you know. You could probably try other things, but you're a teacher. And you'll always be a teacher.
Yes.
And someone who hasn't heard your story and hasn't seen the video clip, just briefly let us hear your story again. About what it amazes me that you were an extreme athlete at one time.
I've done some mountain bike racing, skateboarding, things like that.
Yeah.
A little bit old for that now, but yeah, that's what I used to do.
And you did that for like 8 or 9 years? Right?
Yeah, I raced mountain bikes for about 11 years.
Yeah.
Skateboarded, still do my whole life.
Wow. About
25 years going on with that.
That's amazing. And then from that, you went on to go do special education. Now, not only are you a teacher, but you teach special ed.
Yes.
That has to present its own set of difficulties, but also its own set of rewards as well.
Absolutely. It's extremely challenging, but for the more challenging days, you also get much more of a reward for the good days, I believe. These are the kind of kids who really draw you in to want to invest in them, and once they know that you're there for them, they will just do just about anything for you.
Yeah. The thing that stuck out for me very much in your talk last week was that the story of how you, I guess one morning you stood by and watched your stepdad pass, and
Yes.
then 2 hours later you were there in class.
Yes.
Now anybody else would go, I've got to take the next few days off. I can't do this. 2 hours later you're back on the job. Why?
Well, part of it is, a lot of it is that my students are the kinds of kids that really need a lot of consistency. They expect and really need to have a familiar adult with them every day. So I try to, unless it's something that's a really big deal, I try to always be there for them.
Yeah.
If I can't be there in the morning, I try to at least come by and see them off in the afternoon. Another part of that is with the extremely high-pressure environment that we're teaching under right now, I feel like, can I afford to take a day off? If I have a substitute, is she going to pull the wrong lesson plan? Might she or he pull the wrong activities out that I'd planned on the next day? And if I'm observed and evaluated that next day, I won't have exactly what I need on hand. So there's a little bit of fear there. I'm afraid that things might not be as I need them to be in this high-pressure environment when I get back if I take a day off.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, just as, and my kids are in Sevier County schools. Both of them, the two have already moved on. One's in college. I have one that's still in Sevier County school. But just as a dad and as a parent, I want to say to you, thank you. And I'm sure not enough people have said to you, thank you. And there probably in the rest of your life, not enough people that could say thank you to you. But thank you from a parent for doing what you do. You're the reason why we need to stand by and support our teachers. You're the reason why people need to pay attention to what's going on, whether you have kids in school or not. Like I said, you do what you do because that's what you have to do. You have to do that. I mean, these kids are your kids. Mm-hmm. And I can tell by talking to you and listening to you, it's not just even a question of, I'm passionate about what I do. These kids are your kids.
Right.
And you're an incredibly special person to be a teacher, and it takes special people to be teachers, and it breaks my heart to hear about good teachers just kind of being shoved out. And I think that's the problem going on, and I think a lot of it has to do with, of course, a major lack of communication between the administrators and the folks in the AJ building and you guys. I mean, we talk about there's two very important things when it comes to education: students and teachers.
Yes. And
it seems like there's a disconnect between the higher ups and those two elements now. I was giving people the benefit of a doubt up until last Tuesday, when it seemed like we hold on to the kids for an extra hour because maybe some funding may be involved, mm-hmm. or maybe we go ahead and get their lunches to them, because man, if we miss these lunches, that's a big chunk of change, and if we miss this day of attendance, that's another big chunk of change, upwards of $1 million in a day. And I'm sorry, that's a horrible reason to make the decision to hold on to them for an extra hour and a half, and to compromise their safety. If you had Dr. McIntyre or anybody from the board or anyone here sitting in front of you, perfect world, you can make all the suggestions you want. What are some of the things that you would say, look, this is what we need to do, and here's some of the things we need to change?
Well, I think I would say the same thing that all of the students, parents, and teachers that have been speaking up at these board meetings since October have been saying. We need to make sure that our schools are places that are developmentally appropriate for our students. We need to foster a love of learning. We need to allow our schools to be safe places to make mistakes. We need to have room for students, for our kids, to explore interests. I feel like right now we are in such a data-driven bean counting type of culture where everything is measured and tested and assessed and evaluated and sorted and separated, that we've almost forgotten that we're working with humans, little humans.
Yeah.
I guess I would tell anyone who could make a difference that we need to make sure that our students have teachers who are able to teach to the needs of their individual students. Mm-hmm. And I'd also like to see a great reduction in the amount of standardized testing that's going on, because testing has its place, but testing excessively does not. Testing in and of itself is not teaching.
Sure. Yeah, we've talked a lot about that, about the standardized testing. We talked a lot about Common Core on this show, and it still baffles me to this day why you think you could take even a handful. I mean, I got 3 kids, and they've all, they have their similarities, but they're all 3 very, very different people that learned at 3 very different rates of education, that had 3 very different sets of interests. I don't see how you can take a room full of children, let alone an entire nation full, and say, here's how we're all going to learn. Here's the speed that we're all going to learn it at, and here's all the interest you're going to show, and here's the standardized test that's going to make it all come true. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I know I'm boiling it down to a very simple thing, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. Last question for you, because we talked about this as well. We've all had, and the 3 of us in the show, we've talked about special teachers that we had in our life. I had a couple of very special teachers that I still remember this day. One that I'd met in 5th grade, and then one that all the way through high school, that really went above and beyond just being a teacher. It was they struck something in us that changed our lives. Did you have a teacher like that you remember that was just a very special teacher in your life? Yes,
I did. My high school Latin teacher, and I still probably think about her at least 2 or 3 times a week when I'm doing my own job teaching.
That's amazing. You probably don't even use Latin that much anymore, do you?
I actually do teach my students the Pledge of Allegiance in Latin.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you, sir, you're a credit to people out there. You're a credit to teachers out there, and I appreciate what you do, and we support you guys 100%. And I just hope that people out there listening to you can say, look, this is the reason why we need to do this. This is the reason why we need to get more involved in this, and this is the reason why good teachers are such an important thing. So, Robert Taylor from Amherst Elementary, thank you so very much for what you do, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you for spending a couple minutes with us. And again, we just, not enough people say it to you, so I'm going to say it to you on behalf of a lot of folks out there. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. It's Robert Taylor from Amherst Elementary School, spending a little bit of time with us this morning. Be sure, we'll go ahead and repost his video. Get on there and watch it. Listen to his story. Just an incredible guy. 7:47.